Okay, hi, I'm Ina, and this is Know Thyself. I'm very extremely late to this. Um, this is my first flip through and second impressions, because I've already been working with this deck for a while. So I got it back in. I actually found this deck really early, back in February in a bookstore in the UK. So that was, I was not expecting that because I knew it was coming out in March for, in like mass market. And I didn't expect to find it, out in other places. And I did. I found it in a bookstore, a chain bookstore in the UK. Just randomly browsing like the very tiny select spiritual new agey section that they had in the store. And yeah, they had this. Yeah, I jumped on this so fast. I had to have it. So I've been working with this already, with this deck for over a month now. So these aren't my first impressions. But I just kind of wanted to do a little flip through and talk about it, talk about some of the problems, some of the issues it has, because it's not perfect, and I mean, no deck is. But yeah, I just kind of want to, like, I don't know, let people know what they're getting into before they buy this. So I'm gonna do a silent flip through first, and then at the end I'll do another little section where I talk about the deck. Yeah, like I said, my impressions of it, working with it, what I think of like the references they used. Oh yeah, this is, of course, as you can probably see, this is the Buffy deck. This is the official Buffy the Vampire Slayer tarot deck. I should have probably started that. But you can see. So it's not actually from Insight Editions, even though it kind of comes in a similar, I think it's from Titan Books. So I don't know if that's like a subsidiary or like a part of Insight Editions. I don't know what the deal is, because the cardstock's the same. I have another Insight Editions deck and I compared it, and the cardstock's the same. The box is the same. It's like a 2-part box. It's like a sturdy, kind of like, it opens like this with 2 little thumb holes. It has a guidebook, and it has the deck inside. So it's almost identical to an Insight Editions deck. At least packaging wise it is. I don't know if it is Insight Editions though, because it was changed. I know that it was going to come out last year, and then they postponed the release date due to the fact that the artist wanted to do more art, like improve the artwork for the deck. So from what I understand, originally they were just going to be, the deck was going to be a lot more pippish, like a lot of Insight Edition decks are, and the artist actually wanted to expand on the imagery and make it fully illustrated. So the deadline was like postponed for like the release date, and just to give the artist more time. And I think that might be the issue, that might be part of the problem with the guidebook, that the guidebook, as if you've seen Julie at Peekaboo Rose's PSA video, talking about the guidebook and how it doesn't match, some of the descriptions don't match some of the minor arcana. Yeah, I actually noticed that before that video came out, and I was really confused, and I thought it was intentional, and I thought it was just kind of like the descriptions weren't really supposed to match. They were just supposed to be like describing trying to get in as many Buffy references as possible. I thought that that was just kind of like, that was the deal with it, but apparently not. I think it, you know, the artwork was changed at some point, and they forgot to update the guidebook descriptions, so that is an issue. I'll quickly skim over that, but if you really want to see, kind of have a more in-depth view of that, I recommend you check out Julie's video. I'll link it down there. And yeah, so yeah, let's get the flip through out of the way. Okay. Okay, so the cardstock is pretty bendy. At first I was kind of, because I'd never had an Insight Editions deck, I was kind of shocked with how, like, bendy it was. It's really bendy, but it makes it really nice to shuffle with. It's got like a matte finish, like a, I don't know if I'd say it's rose pastel, maybe. Rose pastel matte finish. But because of that, the cards do tend to stick together, so you need to like really, yeah. Oh, I shouldn't have done that. Why did I do that? Okay. Okay, take two. Yeah, because I'm a dummy. Yeah, you know that urge, that irresistible urge you just get when you get a deck of cards and you just need to shuffle it. Yeah, that just took over me, so sorry for that. I'll show how it shuffles at the end. But anyway, so let's get on with the flip through. Oh, I should probably show the backs. Okay, so now I can shuffle it. Just gonna riffle shuffle it. It's very bendy, as you can see. So it might warp a bit, but you can get it back in shape pretty easily. So it kind of feels like, see, this is my first, I guess, Insight Editions-ish deck, and then I got another one recently. So I knew what to expect after I'd gotten the Buffy deck, but I was surprised by the cardstock. I wasn't expecting it to be like this, and at first I wasn't sure what to think of it, but it's grown on me. It feels like Play-Doh. There's one thing I will caution about it. If you've never had an Insight Editions deck, I think the cardstock does tend to run on like the softer side, but makes it really good for riffle shuffling. And it's grown on me, honestly. Kind of like it. I do like the matte finish. I guess kind of rose pastel-y matte finish. But the only thing is that, yeah, sometimes the riffle shuffle isn't like as smooth as I'd like it to be. Yeah, but I mean, it's standing the test of time. I mean, I've only had it for a month, but I think it's in good condition. I think it's good. It's good. I just don't like that the cards kind of clump together. I think that's an issue with the cardstock. So of saying if you overhand shuffle, the cards tend to clump together. Maybe not so much. I think with a bit of wear and tear, it will get better. It does get better, because it was much worse when I first got it. But yeah, it does tend to clump together a bit. So let's move on to, I don't know, some of the virtues and some of the issues with this deck. So the color scheme. The color scheme is great. It kind of features these different hues of like crimson and burgundy, maroon, violet, indigo, like deep purples, deep reds. Yeah, and if I found out the cards, as you can probably tell now, I don't know if that's gonna yeah, it doesn't fan out that great, but you can see the differentiation between between the borders of each card. So you have cards that are sort of like outlined in this like blood red. It's like deep kind of crimson-y color, and then we have others that are have like a violet, like a purple border. Then others still have like indigo, like a deep purple. Others have like a stark ivory white. Others still have like a cream-ish border. So let's see if I can get a better, can fount this out better than what I did previously. It has a really nice effect. Okay, I guess that's as far as I'm gonna spread it. Yeah, it has a really nice effect. I really like the color scheme. I really like the different borders. That was a very pleasant surprise for me. And yeah, it fits. It's really fitting for the theme. What else? Okay, so the fact that this is a fully illustrated deck makes me really happy. As Buffy is one of my fandoms, I love Buffy, and I don't think it deserved any less. You know, anything less than a fully illustrated deck. So I'm glad that they didn't go down the usual route of like pips. Pips that don't even have feeling, as Sylvan would say. But you know, the usual kind of like rushed artwork that we get from Insight editions. Yeah, this is a fully illustrated deck with references to like different references to the show, different characters. It's so funny they included Harmony. But yeah, there's some unexpected characters like D'Hoffrin, is it? I don't know. I kind of don't get this choice for... That's the other thing. I don't get some of the choices for some of these cards. I don't know if they were just trying to fill a quota of like characters and references to the show. Some of these associations don't really make sense. Some of the court cards are okay, like Riley as the Knight of Pentacles. Yeah, I can definitely see that. Alright, the Knight of Chalices, of course. This is probably the best example. I think this is the best court card in the deck. William the Bloody as the Knight of Chalices. Couldn't be anyone else. And some of these cards have, some of them, all of them have incredible artwork, but there are a few that feel a bit rushed. So let me see if I can find some. Some are really, really detailed, like incredibly detailed, and we can see references to the Rider-Waite-Smith as well, and I love that. So here with the Chariot, Cordelia, and I was praying. I was absolutely like I had this gut instinct, this gut feeling that the Chariot would be Cordelia, or rather, I was hoping it would be Cordelia. And I'm so happy that it was. Yeah, so some of the choices that I would have gone with for this deck were chosen, so I'm really happy about that. But yeah, I think because of the maybe time constraints, because of the changed artwork in some cases, this is another example of a court card I don't know if I really get. Glory or Glorificus as the Knight of Scythes. Is it Scythes? I don't know if I really get that. Yeah. No, I'm not sure. Some of these court cards don't really make sense to me. Or like Halfrek. Is it Halfrek? As the Queen of Chalices. Well, she does grant... She's a vengeance demon that grants wishes to... Was it mainly children, wasn't it? Yeah. So, maybe. I don't know, maybe you just have to... Maybe some of these require more thought than others, but yeah, I don't like when the artwork was rushed, because you get some spectacular, really, really detailed scenes like the one in this card. And then you get, I love this Two of Cups, Faith and Buffy. So happy about that. And then you get some other cards that are just really, really rushed. Like, this doesn't feel as detailed, but it's not too bad. But there was one where it just felt really, really rushed. I think it was the Three of Wands. See, the Ten of Stakes. The Ten of Stakes feels just like, if you compare it to, you know, something like this, say, it just, the differentiation in artwork, in like the details of the artwork sometimes bothers me, because most of it is really detailed, and then you just get a few pieces that feel rushed. Also, I'm so happy Tara is the High Priestess, and of course that makes perfect sense. But I was was anyone else secretly hoping that, or thinking maybe that the High Priestess would be, I don't know if this character is too like minor and obscure for anyone to have remembered her, or seen her as the High Priestess, but I feel like the perfect High Priestess, besides Tara, would have been, that woman that Buffy encounters at the very end of season 7. I think she's like the last guardian or something like that. She would have been the perfect High Priestess. I was kind of hoping that, they would have gone for that. But Tara is perfect. Tara is perfect. I love Tara. And Spike. Yeah. Oh yeah, this is a card that bothers me a lot. Dark Willow as the devil. I don't know. If anyone, I don't know if it's like a reference to like the overusage of magic, or because she's gone dark, what's the association that's being drawn here with the devil and Dark Willow? Like, I feel like it's either too on the nose or it's too like, it's too kind of like, God, I can't think of the word, but it's something that's been like kind of made to fit, if that makes sense. Like, either it's too on the nose or it's been made to fit, if that makes sense. I don't really get it. This, though, is the perfect tower, and of course there would have been no other better tower for this deck. But I don't like the gentleman as death, for example, because I don't know what is it about the gentleman in particular that, I don't know. I mean, there's so many moments or so many characters that could have represented death that I don't know if the gentleman were like the obvious choice or maybe the right choice. I mean, you could certainly interpret them as harbingers of death, but I don't know, were they just trying to fit, was it just a case of like they were just trying to fit in all the popular characters, like is the case with the court cards, where some of them are perfect and others are just kind of flops. This is one of the other cards that feels really rushed. There's just like no depth to this at all. It feels really flat. And as much as I love Vampire Willow, this doesn't do it for me. So those are really my main issues with Love This, Lovers, and Judgment. It's perfect choices. But yeah, those are some of my issues with the deck and some of my grievances, and some of the virtues, some of the good stuff that the deck has, because it is good. I think it could have been better, but I think, decks can always be better. Can always be improved or be perfected on, and Phantom decks, I feel, especially, always going to be quite hit or miss. A lot of these Insight Edition decks are more miss than hit. But I think it's safe to say that the Buffy deck is more of a hit than a miss, I'd say. It's been pretty well executed. Again, there are just some little things that could have been changed or been improved on, but otherwise I think it's a pretty solid deck. The guidebook, I can't say the same about the guidebook, because yeah, like, I don't know, just the descriptions that don't match. As I said, I think Julie goes over this a lot better than I can or will, but the descriptions don't match the images, so just be aware of that. Otherwise, it's a good deck. How does it read? That's the last thing I kind of want to comment on. So, for the types of readings I've been doing with this deck, I guess it is kind of a gimmicky deck. And it kind of forces you to draw on these points, on these moments in the series to get the full context for the answer. Like, so, no, let me rephrase that. Sorry. It takes you, like, recalling the series to, like, provide better texture or, like, context to the answers the deck might give. I think that will definitely color your view of these cards. So it's not a traditional Rider-Waite-Smith. It's styled like a Rider-Waite-Smith, but it's not a Rider-Waite-Smith clone. So these references are obviously going to color how you perceive these cards and how you interpret them. And that's what I found with this deck, that I was drawing on these moments in the series, and they were kind of like coloring my perception and how I felt about these cards as, like, you know, in terms of the advice they were giving me. It felt very, very tied to moments in the series, and it reads kind of like, it's kind of stern. I don't know if anyone else gets that impression. I feel like the kind of readings it gives me, it doesn't sugarcoat things. And from working with it, I've kind of decided that I think this is a really good deck to use for kind of like challenging questions, stuff that you just have to like hash out. Maybe not shadow work, but you know, certainly difficult questions or stuff that is like, okay, I have a problem, how do I reach a solution? That's the kind of deck that I see this. That's the kind of style of reading that I think this deck provides. This deck is really good at giving. Otherwise, it's not like a deck that's going to hold your hand, it's going to coddle you. It's not like a deeply symbolic deck. It's not like really, really meaningful. It's just, you know, it's a pop culture deck, but it's good at what it does. But yeah, in terms of like the kind of readings it gives, it feels a bit distant at times, and it feels a bit detached, like objective but detached. It feels kind of like swordsy. That's the impression I get with this deck. It feels quite swordsy, which is, you know, it's good. Depends on the kind of reading you want. So just keep that in mind, that I don't know if this kind of deck feels right for every type of reading. I feel like it's a very niche deck that is for when you really want to draw on like stuff from the show as you know, potentially as advice. So yeah, ending on one of my favorite characters there, Faith. But yeah, I think that's it. I don't know if this was rushed or all over the place. This is my first flip through though, so yeah, go easy on me. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope that was useful to you. And yeah, I hope to see you around. See you on the other side.